Coming at you live from responsible distances apart, this is the Blue Heaven Podcast. I forgot to actually plug in my soundboard, so I'm going to do that now. What is going on, Dodgers Nation? My name is Clint. You can find me on the internet machine as Real FRG.
That's right. My name is not Soundboard. My name is Brooke. You can find me at BrookeMe3 on Twitter and Instagram. And on today's show, we will apparently have a soundboard because I don't think we've ever not had a. We might have not had a soundboard one time, right?
It's been a while. It's been a while
long time. Yeah, it's been a minute.
Soundboardless.
We're real professional and real locked in over here. But as you can tell, it's Thursday, and on today's show, we're going to be talking. There's a couple things we really want to talk about, but first and foremost, there is a massive change in the TV deal that we need to talk about, and it just happens to be 6 years too late. And that's it. So it's okay, though.
See, I don't need no soundboard.
You don't need a soundboard. You're fine. If you guys didn't catch us on Twitter today, we also chatted with Dodgers play-by-play man Joe Davis of Barbecue Lore, and you're not going to want to miss out on that. We'll play some clips from our conversation with Joe Davis this morning from beautiful South Pasadena.
Oh.
Yeah. See what I did? I incorporated it.
Just for you, I made sure that we were going to talk about hashtag sources today because I know how much you love when people decide to source other people on the internet.
I love it.
We will be talking Dodgers, paying a little homage to our boy, everybody's friend, John Boy. And, of course, as always, so much more. But before we do get into the show, we ask that you please rate and review our podcast. We're on iTunes. We're on Spotify. Wherever you listen to your fine podcast-style programming, please go check us out there. And subscribe to us on YouTube. That's super huge to us. It makes us feel validated and warm in our in-here areas where I'm pointing at my soul. Yeah, do that. Hit that notification bell so you can get alerts, and then you would know right away. Oh man, you wouldn't have missed the beginning. And sometimes, occasionally, hearing Gary go one, which is a highlight. That's a highlight. That's a true highlight for us.
Did you hear me say one?
No, I think you were cool this time.
You did it, Gary. Producer.
While we quarantine here, guys, I do also want to remind you, go check out our friends over at Sportscaster, because on Sportscaster, you can be the star of your own show with built-in studio graphics, access to special effects, all that fun stuff. You could game, you could live stream, you could broadcast, whatever you're trying to do, whatever you want to do, you could do it over at sportscaster.com. That is CASTR.com. So check that out today after this stream.
After this stream, like I say every single week, we are far more important than that right now. Guys, don't forget this is a live stream, so let us know where you're watching from. Let us know where you're repping Dodgers Nation. Drop into the comments. Let us know what's on your mind. Hopping into the comments a little bit, Roach says, Blue Heaven Pod on a Thursday. Hell yeah. That's right, Roach. On a Thursday, because what else are we going to do when we're all locked inside?
Going up. I think I have, not enough Modelo's left, so...
Not enough to go up.
Is beer still essential? It is, right? I think they said it is. Okay.
You can get it delivered now.
Oh, man, it's the future. Philip is over there on YouTube. Says, hell yeah, on a Thursday, watching from the 559. Thanks for hanging out with us. D. Wyman loves his Dodgers, or her Dodgers. Their Dodgers. Michael says, sup, bros? What's going on, son? What's up from Camarillo? We got Dodger Man Games on Twitch. Ooh, new Twitcher.
Ooh, Twitcher.
Coming from Twin Falls, Idaho. We know where Roach is, of course. Hi, Miz. Broadcasted from bed.
We're sorry, Roach.
That's a good call. Take a couple more. I'm going to get the soundboard running here.
Yeah, that's very important. You need to get the soundboard going. Hatfield over there on Facebook says, hi, guys. Hatfield, you're like 10 seconds later than you usually are. Good to see you regardless. Yeah, Hatfield, let us know where you're from, because you're in here all the time, and I always forget where you're from. John Duda checking in from Port. I always forget how to say it. California. It's the it's the Port. It's pretty loud. Yeah, I think you just scared a few people. I think you just woke up somebody's dog.
During these times, man, it sounds too official.
Jeff Momo over on Facebook, watching from Washington State.
Oh,
I don't know. I think he means the state Washington, not like Washington State University, probably, because it's close. But Jeff's watching from Washington. Welcome from Washington, Jeff.
When in Rome. Charlie, our boy Hamill's locked up here in Whittier. Hamill actually did not know you're a Whittier boy. So,
hey, Whittier.
When Whittier ever opens again, if it ever happens, we'll grab some brew doggies. Ryan is upset for Gary for not wearing his hat, but we did notice he did fix that. So good save.
You. Oh, Hatfield's from Springfield, Illinois. Wow.
Field. It's a hell of a town. Katie is in the stream as well. She was here early. Lifer. We're gonna call her a lifer. But
Leslie Taylor over on Facebook says it's Katie's mom here from Kingsburg, California. I like how
Katie
she checks
and
in.
Katie's mom.
She
Hell
checks
yeah.
in as Katie's mom. That's very clutch. Thank you, Katie's mom. We love you.
Now I feel bad because last time it was Katie's mom has got it going on, but now the Fountains of Wayne guy unfortunately succumbed. Whatever the word is.
That was really bad timing for him to die right after you said that. So
I mean,
I don't know who to blame, but I'm going to blame you for that one.
I don't know how to use these powers. I'm just learning.
Isaac Sandoval checking in from Big Bear. Wow,
Oh.
way up in Big Bear. That's high up.
They get internet up there?
Yeah.
Some places.
So they say.
Well, guys, we're on screen here for everybody every week. Everybody has access to us, and it's free, 100%. The only thing it costs you is a subscription and a notification bell if you love us. But most Dodger fans here in the fine county known as Los Angeles, they've not been as lucky. It's been 6 years, of course, since the birth of Spectrum Sportsnet LA, or back then it was Time Warner Sportsnet LA. And 6 years, more than half of LA County and beyond has been unable to watch Dodger games. Most people miss the end of Vin Scully's fine career, unfortunately. Yep. Missed the beginning of a beautiful friendship between Joe Davis and Oral Hershiser, but that's come to an end. Now DirecTV, AT&T, which I guess DirecTV is part of AT&T, whatever, they came together and everybody seemed stoked. I mean, the internet needed that kind of happy.
Yeah, I don't know how you grew up watching Dodger games because we're slightly apart in age range, but I grew up watching KCAL9 games, and so I was always used to. That's how I became a Dodger fan, honestly. My whole family was Angels fans growing up, but the Angels weren't on free TV. They were always on Fox Sports West, and we couldn't afford that. So I love baseball, so I turned on the games when I was a kid, and Channel 9, there was the Dodgers every day of the week pretty much. So that's how I became a Dodger fan. That's my story. I know you guys have a lot more complex stories, but mine is literally that the Dodgers were on free TV. So that just goes to show you like what this type of deal does to fan bases. It isolates them. It makes it feel like you can't watch your team. If you have to watch your team illegally, which I would never do, it's rough. It's rough.
Wait.
Wink, wink, wink.
Yeah.
That's for my FBI agent. Yes, I don't need a VPN anymore. So thank you.
I was a KCAL9 guy as well out here now in beautiful Whittier. Before Dodger games were on KTLA 5 for a good while, so that was another one. I remember watching, old Darren Dreifert starts, some Nomo starts on Channel 5 and all that kind of stuff. I mean, this is like early 2000s or whatever. And then Roach talking about Prime Ticket. That was the next level right there. I actually became pretty tight with some of the people there. Everybody remembers old Psycho Steve Lyons. Him and I were cool for a good little bit. He was in Boston, but I think he's kind of DFA'd from the league.
DFA.
Poor guy. But to celebrate, why not? We pulled out all the strings and all the stops here. We decided to go and pull the voice of the Dodgers and the guy you would hear and see on Spectrum Sportsnet. Gary, you have clip number 1 of our conversation with Mr. Joe Davis that happened earlier this day.
Here we go.
News dropped this week. For people who don't know, DirecTV is now going to be carrying Spectrum Sports in LA. So first, I feel I need to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself to the other half of the fan base that's been missing you for the last few years. And 2, thoughts on the deal, the excitement level for you.
Yeah, so excited for it, man. It had gone so long. I don't want to say I'd given up on it happening, but I think I just tried to stop thinking about it because, like, what good was that going to do me to think about that? And didn't really change. It didn't at all change my job, what I do on a daily basis. So I kind of put it out of my mind. Huge bummer all along that not everybody could watch, but it wasn't going to do me any good to pay too much attention or energy to it. And so when I got the call probably last week that it was getting close, I was like, wow, like, really? Is this really going to happen? And then it obviously goes through a couple days ago. My first thought goes to the kids in Los Angeles. the next generation of baseball fans, because I think about myself growing up in Michigan, and I think people know I grew up a Cubs fan, but growing up watching games on WGN and how that daily experience of flipping the game on really molded me as a fan. And so for, a generation that was going to miss out on that, had the deal not gotten done, I'm just so excited for them.
So it might have been feedbacky. Not 100% sure, Gary. I might have set you up to fail there. My bad. Alfredo says FRG in stereo. Let us know if it had a weird feedback to that, and we'll try to fix it for the next ones. But Gary, you were able to hear the conversation, right?
The whole thing. So
I mean, we already heard it earlier. It's really cool. I love Joe talking about what it meant to him as a youth growing up. And getting into baseball and all that, what WGN in Chicago meant to him, So he's a Cubs guy, so he grew up on Harry Carey. He had the fact that he broadcasts the way he does when he grew up on Harry Carey is pretty impressive.
Yeah, he's definitely become like his own guy, which I appreciate about Joe for sure. He's later on in the conversation we talk about a little more, but didn't try to emulate Vince Scully. He just took his own style and ran with it, and that's what he is. But it's cool. It's really cool to see I think Clint, you had talked about it, like, hey, are you ready to be a star? Because all of a sudden you're going to start being exposed to a lot more of a fan base that hasn't really gotten to know you quite yet. Like, you maybe have gotten to know half the fan base by now, but be ready.
That's where I feel like I feel tough, or I feel like it's weird. Like, you imagine people popping in on this show as we're like on this is episode 115. So let's say in this case, somebody decides to go and listen to Blue Heaven podcast, and we have all this garbage inside humor jargon, and we pretend we're friends and all that. So like, there's also that weirdness of people jumping into other people's friendship and being kind of like not as cool with it. But I feel with anybody or of anybody, being absorbed into the love affair, as in a way, with Joe and Oral, nobody is going to have any issues with that. And you kind of got more into that with the conversation later on in the conversation. So if anybody does want to hear that conversation in full, do go to our YouTube channel. I'll probably also put it out solo as a podcast or somewhere on our platforms there. But let's dig into a few of the comments here. Puppy Butt 310, still legendary name, over on Twitch, asked, did you ask Joe if he'll announce a virtual Dodger game? Brooke, you want to take that?
We did, and it was mostly as a joke, but also like, I'm joking, but maybe, like that kind of thing.
We walked up.
It's come up, maybe.
Walked real quick backwards.
We were just like, we wanted to approach it with him and just like kind of throw the idea out. It's like, when you really like a girl and you're like, you want to go out? No, I'm just kidding. But
no,
maybe
he was already working.
It was like,
he was already walking away from that. I was like,
yeah,
no,
he was like,
oh
yeah. I don't think he would be interested in televising a virtual game at this point. He's very busy. He's got meat to cook and kids to watch and a wife to help cook and
spend time with,
take care of his whole family, spend time with the family. He's taking advantage of the time, spending it with his family, as he should be. So
it's one game. We could bribe him off with, I don't know, sous vide something. No, you got to sous vide something, Gary. Yeah.
You got to send some sous vide stuff.
Social distance sous vide.
Exactly. Obviously, while the news is great, it kind of comes at a suspect time for two reasons. There's two reasons why it's suspect. Yeah. Number one, it was reported and officially announced on April Fool's Day of all days, which is just, in terms of operations of the Dodgers, just right on pace. So a lot of fans actually, I don't know if you got any messages, Clint. I got a lot of messages like, is this fake or is this real? And I was no, it's real. It's just bad timing. And they're like, oh, are you sure it's real? It might be fake. And I'm like, no, they would not do this right now. Thankfully, even in the midst of like a regular season where there's not a virus that shut down baseball, they wouldn't do this. But especially right now, they would not do this.
Thankfully, people go to you when they have beef. Like you're the face of the franchise, so I don't get those DMs.
It's because I answer my DMs too often. I think it's my mistake.
I try.
My DMs are also open. I don't know about yours.
They go to that like weird hidden folder, and then you miss the notification or whatever it may be. Anyways, Hamill grew up watching KCal 9 back in the day, but when Time Warner came along, he's like paid for that. We pretty much did the same here in my house because we were going from prime ticket, and it's like, all right, if they're running away from us, this is unacceptable. Plus that when that broadcast team came together, like, not enough people. Of course, people knew Alana, but not enough people knew Alana Rizzo coming from MLB Network. She was doing intentional talk, but everybody knew Bulldog. And it's like, oh, no way, Nomar. And then the team just kept going. And it's like, oh, I guess they threw in Jay Hare too, whatever.
Yeah. They got rolling with him. Ashley was apparently a big fan of he's got meat to cook. He does have meat to cook. I mean, I don't know what else he's doing right now.
Well,
that's at the forefront of his mind right now. That's the very first thing on his list.
He was struggling to find meat at first. If you do recall his Instagram, he could not find it. There was no meat to spare in the South Pass markets. But yeah, beyond everywhere's gotten a lot better. You still can't
TP.
Yeah, you still can't find ass wipes anywhere. I really don't understand why people think toilet paper is what the cure for Corona is. I mean, like, get it together, folks. Nice kids, friends of the show.
All of the kids.
Everybody. But yeah, the other part of the, besides it becoming on April Fool's Day and the suspect nature of the timing, it is also like, so it took a whole ass pandemic for you guys to do this. Like, they finally came together.
I guess all it took was, hey, like, we got to shut down baseball. They're like, wow, we really need a good announcement. We really need something to keep fans in it right now because they are not happy and they keep asking for ticket refunds, but we're not going to answer them. So we got to figure something out.
Well, you guys think that this was like pretty much done beforehand? I felt like.
Oh, it was for sure.
Yeah, it was done, and they wanted to make an announcement on opening day.
No, yeah, I know for a fact that I'm sure it still came together pretty last minute regardless, but it wasn't, this isn't something that's been like hey, we need to do this now. It's been something that's been in the work for years now. AT&T had the purchase of DirecTV and everything. There's just been so many things working together that have made this happen behind the scenes that the timing of it sucks, but it's just happened to be timed out till right now where it's like, I'm sure that this was initially, I mean, because even if you look at the announcements, it's mostly just reporters and stuff like, hey, this is happening. This is what's going on. It's not really a big, huge show like, this is massive. This is huge. Because it is. It's a big deal. But no, they're not saying anything because they're like, it was originally probably going to be a huge, massive announcement for the Dodgers. And now they're just like, we're not really going to say much about it.
From a business standpoint, this is the day that all the other teams in the city were not waiting for. I mean, the Lakers don't want this to happen. LAFC doesn't want this to happen. The Rams don't want this to happen because this is the Dodgers. 5 generations of fans in this city. Then their eyeballs and their bandwidth, they get sucked up back into Dodger baseball, Dodger broadcast. This is and we're winning. I mean, this is very dangerous from a business perspective to the other teams.
Yeah.
But I'm so happy because, I mean, we just get more fans back, and then the young kids get to see. Because my kids are in Little League. And a lot of them are Dodger fans too, but sometimes they don't get to watch enough games. They just love the Dodgers, but they don't get to watch. So, now that they get to watch and they get to emulate their favorite players and do these crazy moves, the Max Muncy bat flips, that's the fun part, is waiting to see the ripple effect of how the kids take this in.
Yeah, Gary, first of all, they say your voice is very low, so I think you got to turn up a little bit on there. But me and you have been talking about for the past couple of years now, Gary, the conversation of LA's always been a Laker town, and that's kind of how it's been for ever and ever and ever. And I think one of the first conversations that you and me had was actually like, is it becoming a Dodger town though? Because at the time we were having that conversation, the Lakers were pretty damn bad, if you remember.
Right.
And now it's like,
it was 50-50.
We're becoming, we're for sure. Yeah, for sure. And now that the Lakers are actually better, it's more of a competition. But now that you're having more eyes on the Dodgers and more capabilities of actually watching them, it's like, wow, all right, this is actually a conversation now. Like, this is a real thing. There's a lot of people that are watching the Dodgers now and that are going to be able to watch the Dodgers now. So there's definitely a shift. It's really, really good for baseball in general. Baseball numbers are struggling. Like, there's no denying that at all. In the smaller markets, it's struggling. But in the bigger markets, it's booming. Well, so why not take full advantage?
The biggest thing is this. You're going to have, with the number of concussions in football climbing, the number of registrations in Pee Wee football have gone down. Therefore, the good athletes are going to go play baseball because it's just American pastime. Then you're going to have the better athletes going back to baseball. And now you have those athletes in Southern California, like the hub of all the best athletes in the country, year-round sports. You have them wanting to play baseball and then being motivated by watching a winning baseball team.
Yeah.
Man, this is the start of a generation. Like, we've talked about this. Another generation of great baseball is really coming. A bunch more of Mike Trouts are coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eventually.
It's all moving away from NFL gradually. It's going to be a slow move, but it's going to move regardless. Except NFL is apparently broadcasting games on Nickelodeon now to bring in kids. So whatever. That's a move, I guess. If you want to draw kids into brain damage, that's fine.
Of course, with all of this, though, baseball needs to be back. Sports need to be back for any of these kids to want to get involved, to possibly look for a career change at age 8 or whatever. So that was one of the things we did talk to Joe about, just some of his thoughts on what he's heard about baseball potentially coming back and when things will more so be allowed to come back. So you got a button there, Gary?
Yes.
It'll probably be grainy again if you want to do that output thing.
Okay. I'll try my best right now.
All right.
We're going with the number
second one.
Yeah, here we go.
Even we hear from Commissioner Manfred and hear from the Players Association, and we can say whatever we want as far as dates that we think it could happen or hope that it will happen and plan for it to happen, but none of us know, and that's not a knock on any of us. It's just none of us know how well this virus is going to be controlled, and everything is contingent on when we get it under control.
Yes. And that's a tight clip for sure, but the biggest thing that Joe mentions there, it's like you could speculate all you want. Even Stan Kasten went on with John Hartung earlier this week, the same day the Spectrum deal was announced, and it's like, we can speculate. We've been told not to speculate much about it, but you can say whatever you want. It doesn't mean anything until the people up top say you can have gatherings, you can have this many people in one in one location, whatever it is. So hey, more of Los Angeles could watch Sportsnet LA, but you know what? It's going to be Kershaw's no-hitter again. It's going to be Kershaw's opening day again. It's going to be yet another. I mean, how many Kershaw games are you guys going to show? Like, figure something out. Let's get some new and exciting, old stuff, not just 81 or 88 again too. Like take this opportunity to kind of catch some people up that haven't had your network for this long, and play some of the other greatest hits. Not even greatest hits. Play the the deep cuts of some games.
Yeah,
no, play last year. You
play
got
me
so
some
many
Deanna
moments.
Navarro games.
I mean, you got the moments from last year. You got the eight home run open game. You got the Jock's freaking home run streak. You got the walk-off weekend. That's just from last year. You run some 2017 comebacks, man, that's going to be great. You run some, hey, we got screwed by the Red Sox and Astros, and that's going to even be better. You just hear about it, but just building up the story arc for it. I mean, you got a lot of really talented producers out there who can come up with some really good stories, and guess what? They got a bunch of time right now. So come up with some good stuff, and you can win this fan base over. Instead of watching like old Lakers, it's like 88 Showtime, Kobe, Shaq, like all that stuff on Spectrum. You're just like, dude, my kid is like repeating everything they're saying. I'm like getting history lessons every day, So just watching more stuff would be nice.
Roach says Olmedo signs highlights, and I'll also take that. I think my coin is working now, so we'll take some Olmedo
signs. That's good.
Pack of the Killer Tomato. But yeah, there are so many great games. Gary, you often talk about what really built Dodgers Nation, the brand, and that was the pulse that Yasiel Puig, just the fire that it injected into a fan base that was just coming off of Frank McCourt. Everybody had really lost the franchise had lost its mojo. Things weren't going right. Puig comes up, they make that trade. They go and make the Nick Punto trade. Games like that, even watching Puig's debut game again would be fun, or the Grand Slam game afterwards, or Adrian Gonzalez's first game where he hits a home run in his first at bat. All those type of games. The 42-8 run from that or from the 2013 season. Yeah. So many great games from that time.
Yeah. I mean, the Spectrum would just just be smart about it and just have some fun right now and say, hey, dear Dodger fans, here's what you've missed since 2013.
Yes.
And then just run that series. And then you're right. Like when Puig came up, I saw the graphs when I was running, Lakers Nation. It was just we saw the spike in traffic when the Lakers won the championship. So I saw all the analytics and I was like, oh wow, this is amazing. The city, it blew up. You compare that to Puig coming and that city blowing up at that time. Oh, so different. Puig killed it, and that's because there's more generations of Dodger fans than there are Laker fans. But it's a ton of generations. There's better fan base than 99% of the cities in this country. So having the Dodgers back on TV is going to be excellent for this city.
For sure.
Yeah.
No doubt about that.
So one of the last things, I mean, again, the full conversation with Joe, I think it's worth a listen. Hell, I even listened to it again afterwards, and I was part of the original conversation, so it's fun. It's always great talking to Joe Davis, but I did kind of like the answer here of, with no baseball going on right now, besides cooking, what's he doing to kind of hone his craft? The same way, who is it, Joe Buck? Joe Buck is taking fan submissions to do play-by-play on. What's Joe Davis doing? Go ahead and roll that beautiful bean footage, Gary.
But how are you hanging in there with no games to call? How are you keeping up on your craft day to day?
It's not even as much like I'm sitting there saying, man, I wish I had a game to call, as it is, man, I wish I had a game to watch.
Yeah.
I kind of look at it as a sports fan more than anything. And keeping up on my craft, I'm not really like practicing or doing any dry runs or anything like that. I'm trying to invest a couple hours each day in prepping for the season. I think that it would be easy to kind of be like, all right, let's just hang out and drink beers now or whatever, and who knows when this is going to be. But I don't want the season to start, say, July 1st or whatever it winds up being, and then I'm like, whoa, shit, I better get going now into baseball again. I'm trying to keep my mind in that frame of still kind of leaning forward towards the start of the season to stay sharp and stay ready to go.
Yeah.
Joe Davis, everything he does is perfect, but that's just because we like him. He's great. So again, check that out on our YouTube. This is for the full conversation. We have a little bit more Joe later on in the show, but I really wanted to talk about this. Brooke had himself an interesting and full Wednesday, I guess we'll call it. So, I mean, obviously the Spectrum DirecTV news, that all broke. That was great stuff. But later on in the day, we got hashtag sources. There was a gentleman there. I mean, again, we're at this point in time where we're looking for any particular sliver of positive news or potential news, and we're all desperate. We're definitely 1,000% desperate here. So I'm going to go with an alleged MLB columnist. I still didn't really dig into who this guy was. Was his name Matt something or other?
Spiegel.
Matt Spiegel out of Chicago. He came at us on the internet with a huge scoop with hashtag sources all up in that. So, Brooke, you want to enlighten some of the folks as to what the scoop was all about?
Yeah. Let's just say, that game, Telephone, where like it starts with one person and it goes through like 18 different people. It's like one phrase, and then you gotta see if it matches up with what the first person said. And it's like, oh, the silver phone rang, and at the end, it's like the monkey is square, and it's like that's not even close to what I said. So he quoted a source that was basically a friend of a friend of a friend of an MLB executive, is what it sounds like to me. And for me personally, those are sources that really upset me on the internet, because that to me is saying I'm going to take a shot in the dark here, hope it lands, and then I get some sort of credit when it does.
Yep.
That's what that is to me. And that's what that is 95% of the time you see something like that. It's like, I'm just going to take a shot in the dark. If it happens to be right, then people are going to be like, this guy was right. He knows things. And then he's going to get verified and have all. So, I mean, he's a morning talk show radio host for Chicago. I don't know how big or important he is. I don't know anything about him. If you're a Cubs fan, you might know something about him. But basically what he broke is what we'll call it, breaking. Several different parts of what he heard is going to happen with the season. First being is that it's going to start July, which is consistent with what we've been hearing anyways. We've heard the July 4th start date. We've heard the July 1st start date. It's kind of been bounced around a little bit. He says it's going to be July 1st. He also says it's going to be a 100-game season that's going to pick up after the All-Star break schedule, so it's just going to be pretty consistent. I don't know how they're going to decide which games they do play and which games they don't play from what they missed. Part 2A and 2B, I guess you can call them, involve the number one, All-Star game being canceled, which, I mean, we could all guess that at this point, I think. I think that's a pretty safe bet that the All-Star game's canceled. But two, that the World Series is going to be held at Dodger Stadium. And what you're thinking is, well, what if the Dodgers play in the World Series? Because let's be honest, they probably will.
Very good.
The road games will be played reportedly in Anaheim or San Diego. So, I mean, all of these things are kind of common sense things when you look at them. Like, they sound right, honestly. Like, if those were said by like Ken Rosenthal today, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. That's exactly what they should be doing. But the fact that it's like somebody that none of us know or have never heard of makes me be like, I don't want you to be right. I want this to be way wrong. But also looking at those notes, it's pretty cool. You know, it would be pretty cool to be like, hey, no matter what, the World Series is at Dodger Stadium. It's pretty crappy if somebody else wins the World Series at our stadium.
Yeah.
But
Like if the Astros make the World Series and we don't, they are in Dodger Stadium playing for another World Series, there's going to be a riot.
You remember when the Lakers fans rioted after the championship?
Oh, I remember that. I remember
Shaq had to buy a cop car.
10 times worse.
Yeah.
But unhappy rioting is much worse.
There's no way Astros are getting into Dodger Stadium first.
No. They're going to be like, no, we're just not going to go.
All right. So guys in the stream, everybody kind of get your reactions. Really, what do you feel about that? So again, the summary is 100-game season. Again, we've heard that. It kind of makes sense. And that sort of meshes with the idea of baseball happening around July. All-Star game gone. We knew that. The only other alternative would be maybe it's held at the end of the season, similar to NFL's Pro Bowl, but actually, exciting and engaging-ish. Regardless of the situation, World Series games happening at Dodger Stadium. So that's where we're at. People get us your reactions. Brooke, I want you to be more angry. Give me some more angry about this. The people need it.
The only thing I'm really angry about is that I don't know this person and they're taking a shot in the dark. That's the only thing that really pisses me off about it. It does make me mad because obviously there are a lot of people who actually do have sources that have heard whispers of things that just haven't said anything because they don't want to leak false information out. And then you got this guy just throwing something at the dartboard hoping he hits bullseye. So that's annoying to me. I don't like that. But
I mean, we saw Justin.
We gotta start
Turner.
somewhere.
You saw Justin Turner go off about. And reasonably so, but about the Ross Stripling, Jock Peterson non-trade and how, the idea of people need to wait until the trade is announced officially, which you can't. That's not the business of MLB here or of reporters and all that kind of stuff. It is a lot of the competition and who's first. But yeah, I agree. Like, with being the only guy that's sort of whispering it and throwing that much out there in the way it is, one of those people that's really just looking to throw an extra. I mean, the guy already had like 40, 55,000 followers on Twitter. So you're trying to pile on an extra, maybe 5,000 if you're lucky on something like that. That's like one of those people over here on Twitter that just steals videos from other people and then lets their Twitter following grow. You really hate those kind of people just taking other people's credit. But yeah, it's definitely it's not a great look, but at the same time, it's like, you know what? Run with it. If you have somebody telling you something like that, we have nothing better to write about. We have nothing better to give us hope. And
everybody's looking for something right now. So if you even have whispers of something, you might as well just say it at this point because, I mean, Clint, as well as I do, there's not a ton to write about now. There's not a ton to even talk about right now. So at least give us something and we'll have a conversation. That's fine.
Maybe for you. Katie says, I don't want another set of tea and playing in our stadium if we don't make the World Series. Set of a tea? Huh?
Spelling is hard.
I don't.
Yeah. I think she's saying she doesn't want to see another team
Oh, hey, that's a good game that we should play. People who mistype and we guess.
What are you saying? Yeah.
Yeah.
What did they mean?
drunk responses or something like that.
Yeah.
Whitney says it's not hard to make Brooke angry. No, not necessarily. Sometimes he's sad.
That's one of my softball friends. She knows.
Ryan says, why couldn't they have the All-Star game in mid-August or something? Absolutely hate this idea. It makes no sense at all. Ryan, I understand that, but if we are saying that the games are starting in July, that's a month or a month and a half if you're doing it in the middle of August. So you're not going to get that many at bats. How are you going to say that somebody's an all-star with, like, if they're lucky, 4 wins? That's your all-star game starter, and somebody has maybe 3 home runs and 80 at bats or something like that. It would need to be an end of the season sort of thing. You know, there's more to even figure out too with like trade deadline stuff, and I mean, all of it's pretty wild, pretty speculative, and we can do this. We're not fancy MLB columnists or communists or whatever. Dodger Dude, our boy the Dodger Dude is in here, says make 4A teams like San Francisco take the year off, which is what Gary was talking about on Tuesday.
I'm absolutely on board with that. Just eliminate them.
So what are we doing, a top 12 bracket? Is that what you said, Gary?
Was it top 12? Just like I get it to top 16, which pretty much eliminates the entire like NL West except for the Dodgers. And then it'd be more fun. And you would save teams from injuries because of unnecessary doubleheaders. That's the biggest thing I would see. And plus, you give their teams some rest. I mean, look at the Mets. They're already like throwing Tommy John surgeries at everybody. They're already kind of giving up. So get the teams that are already giving up, get them out of here.
Dodger Dude also said less interleague play too. I think they would have completely eliminated
for sure.
Interleague. There's absolutely no need for interleague to be happening right now.
Nope.
Eric
and
says,
suspend the Astros for a year, and that eliminates one team too. Done.
Eric says we'll not see baseball in 2020. If we do, it'll be no one in the stands. That's another one of the big things too.
Dude, man, money's not there. The money's in the cable deals. They got to get ready for the Amazon Prime and YouTube money. That's what you got to think about. Is that money is coming, and they got to show what they can do with live streams. They don't care about people in the stands. That's the money coming in. Billions of dollars coming in.
One of the big things here is with no baseball, we are saving Brooke a lot of money in micheladas. So he did it, right?
Not happy about it.
I do miss a good michelada, man.
I do miss a good $25 michelada. Oof.
Yeah. Edwin says, I don't care how many games we play. I just want baseball back. Yeah. Yes. That's
fine sentiment.
That's ultimately, I think, what we're going for here for sure. Well,
are people saying they don't like our simulated games? Is that what I'm hearing right now? They don't want to see video game baseball?
Nah, I prefer it. We won like by 15 runs the other day or something like that. So,
yeah. Importantly, Jose Rod here says, Brooke, please shave.
Jose, catch these hands.
Ooh. You should just have the list. We should get rid of the stream or get rid of the chat on the stream side and just have your list.
Yeah, just like floating next to my head. I'm down.
Ooh, dude. I want $1 michelada night. I'm down.
That's how people die.
In all of the hospitals. I mean, all of the ambulances there. All right. One of the final things we did get into with our friend Joe Davis, we would be complete morons if we weren't going to ask the man about his thoughts for this 2020 Dodgers team on paper at least. So as I said, I've said a number of times, like we're currently sitting on, like literally sitting on one of the single most anticipated seasons in recent Dodger memory, recent Dodger history. So, one of the things Joe had mentioned is like he only got a few games in Arizona with the team and with partners Bulldog and Rick. So one of the things we did wonder is what he did think early on about the 2020 ball club. Go and roll that beautiful bean footage, Gary.
To baseball a little bit. Obviously, no baseball right now, and that sucks. But
we were all pretty excited about these 2020 Dodgers. What are your thoughts on them?
Yeah, I think that's part of why it's such a bummer that there's no baseball, because of what you said, because they did look like a powerhouse. I think that they were as deep as ever. Adding somebody like Mookie Betts, you now have two of the top players in all of baseball between Bellinger and Betts. I think that David Price is framed as a throw-in for that deal, but I think David Price was set to have a really good season. He was healthy. He was coming from the American League, and not just the American League, but the American League East into the National League. He never pitched in the NL before. You can expect a boost from that. So I think he was set to have a good season. Kershaw looked amazing during spring training. Jansen looked better. There were just so many things that were leaning in the right direction that I think that's part of the reason why it's such a bummer that there is no baseball right now, because it was trending so positively.
Yeah. Did you get to have any conversations with any of those newer guys before spring training got suspended or anything like that?
Really briefly, enough to say hello and introduce myself to the new guys, but brief enough, and I think the gap is going to be long enough where I'm just going to have to introduce myself all over it.
Fair enough. So Mookie Betts in Los Angeles, just what did you feel, and what do you think that means to the team? That looks to finally get over that hurdle this year, hopefully.
I think that anytime with a player from afar, so any player in the American League, I think what we tend to appreciate, and vice versa, American League fans, what they tend to appreciate about our National League players is typically the offense, right? Because we see that's the easiest thing to see in the numbers, and spectacular offensive player, one of the best offensive seasons in Boston Red Sox history 2 years ago. Last year, people looked at it and said, oh, it was a down year. It wasn't a down year. It was top 5 in the American League. It just was down from 2018. But the other things is, you talk to people that watched him every day in Boston, that they rave about are his defense and his base running. So people talk about, the Dave O'Brien, the Boston Red Sox TV guy, said that he thinks he is the best base runner he's ever seen. And he said defensively, he's going to make a play just about every night where you say, wow. And those kinds of things you can't possibly appreciate until you do see them every day. So we can appreciate the batting line and appreciate how good of a hitter he is just from seeing that. But I was excited to watch just the raw excitement and electricity that he brought to the park on a given night.
So, one, for the echo side, I know people are still hearing the echo. Sorry, we had some. I set Gary up to fail, so I know that one was might have been a little bit tougher for some of you folks. That will be fixed on the podcast side and fix it in post, as I do enjoy to do. But I think my favorite part of Joe there, it's pretty much like the idea of allow myself to introduce myself, but he has to do it again to the new guys and whatnot. But it's a dude who's definitely, you can tell. He's sad. He wants to be doing this. He wants to see these guys. They've, even watching some of those videos of him and Oral and whatnot. The videos the Dodgers YouTube channel has been doing, the Skype conversations and all that. Those are dudes that really miss being down by the batting cages, talking to these guys, interacting with Dave Roberts and all that kind of stuff. The players getting a little bit of time with Turner and all that. But
yeah.
It's it's cool. It's still cool though. Like, do you see the excitement? We talked to Joe already said earlier. He's taking time, to put in some research each day, so he doesn't just pop into the season not knowing where he's at. But I don't know. I've kind of ran my train of thought on that. I guess ultimately I appreciate Joe.
No, yeah. I mean, we talk about it a lot, all the time, but. The dude puts in a lot to his craft. He's really good at what he does. If you look at the career arc that he's taken, he's probably shot up faster than any broadcaster I've ever heard of in my entire life. Like, he was working for the Montgomery Biscuits like not that long ago. So with that in mind, we're lucky to have him. He's a good dude, great person to talk to. And from every fan experience that I've ever heard with Joe Davis, I've only heard the most positive things you could possibly imagine. Like, the dude comes out and just hangs out with fans if they're asking to. So excellent dude. Players love him. We love him. Lucky to have him. And I'm glad this TV deal matches up well with him.
100%. So we try to give our final thoughts at the end of each show here. We're coming up on our allotted time. We allotted ourselves today, but in this case, we did want to give Joe Davis actually the final thought for the day. So go ahead and roll that clip. But really, just any final message to the fans, and all of Dodgers Nation, something you'd like to say.
I miss you guys. I know you guys all miss baseball. I miss you guys. I miss the interaction. I know there still are interactions on Twitter and everything, but I miss having those games to interact about. And I miss being in the stadium and feeling the roar of the crowd. And hopefully it's going to be back sooner rather than later. None of us know, as we kind of talked about, none of us know when it's going to be back. But if it's possible, I think that when it is back, we're going to love it even more because we're going to have this added appreciation, this reminder of how much we love it because it's been taken away for extra long now.
Joe. I'm assuming that's his middle name.
Yeah, that makes sense. Adds up.
Again, guys, please do check out the full video, the full conversation. It is available on YouTube, youtube.com/Dodgers Nation TV. While you're there, why not subscribe, hit that notification bell. And, if you're already on the internet, go ahead and find us there. We are on the internet at DodgersNation.com. Subscribe to Blue Heaven. It is a podcast. We are on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Play, Stitcher Radio, Player FM, so many more.
Oh, so many more. I am at BrookMe3 on Twitter and Instagram. That guy over there on the other side of the TV is, I guess TV, computer screen, whatever. He is at RealFRG on Twitter and Instagram. We are at Dodgers Nation on Twitter, at Officials Dodgers Nation on Instagram. Make sure to give us a follow. Stay up to date with us. Thank you guys all for being with us on this beautiful Thursday night. Stay home, stay safe, wash your hands, and we'll see you next Tuesday.
Bye. There's an outro.